Have you ever been to a place and felt like you had stepped back in time? I have. Usually it's when you make a wrong turn somewhere. It's pretty interesting to see, but you're thinking, why do people live here? How do people live here? The places we're going to talk about today are a lot like that. In fact, all of them are the worst places you could live in their respective states. In order to determine our list, we looked at the teeniest places in every state where there's little to do for fun or for work. Now, some people are going to look at these cities and think, these places don't look so bad. And you might be right. Some peace and quiet means no ghetto drama, traffic, and trash. So you decide if these teeny towns are for you or not. Now let's hop in our time machine and fire it up as we get ready to visit the small towns in America where you'd never want to live in. Or maybe you would. Part 1. Well, I was born in a small town, and I live in a small town. Probably die in a small town. Oh, those small communities. Hey! Our time machine has landed in our first tiny town we would never want to live in, and as the doors open up, we find ourselves in Weed Patch, California. Weed Patch? Yes, Weed Patch. This teeny little place, population 2,052, is located in the heart of nowhere. Actually, it could be considered a suburb of Bakersfield, a Central Valley city known for jerks, poor people, and junkies. In Weed Patch proper, the unemployment rate's 12%, despite the fact that there are crops as far as the eye can see to pick. But that's hard labor, and Weed Patchians aren't likely to roll out of bed early to do that, right? Here in Weed Patch, homes cost about $85,000 each, a far cry lower than the average California home price of $548,000. What the? What's there to do in Weed Patch? Well, let's see. You could grocery shop. There's actually 2 grocery stores here, El Ranchito and Weed Patch Supermarket. El Ranchito apparently has a food truck outside, and I'm willing to bet they have some amazing burritos, actually. Let's call El Ranchito and ask them what people do there for fun.
Ranchito Market.
Hey, what do people there do for fun?
Pardon me?
What do people there do for fun? Okay, so that didn't go very well. What the heck? Okay, well, we're going to hop right back into our time machine and blast off out of here and head to our next stop, Wayne, West Virginia. Where in the world is Wayne, West Virginia? Why, well, I'll walk you through it. Wayne is in a holler, about as far out in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, as you can get. In fact, it's so out in the middle of nowhere, it's part of 3 states' metropolitan statistical areas. If you've ever been to West Virginia, you'd know. Even the big cities in West Virginia get boring after a long weekend. You can only imagine what Wayne's like on a Friday night. 1,413 people live here. I bet they know each other quite well. It's also 99% white. That's about the whitest place you'll find in America. It's also 0.09% black, which means there's 12 black folks in the entire place. I bet they know each other well too. Fact is, if you and I lived in Wayne and we had our decent salary, we'd probably be the richest people in town. It's a poor place, Wayne is. The average person earns about $11,000 a year, and as you can imagine, that doesn't go very far each year. Or does it? After all, what is there to spend your money on in Wayne? For fun, you could go down and get some pop at the pumpkin shop, or alternatively, you could hang out at the Wayne Community Center. And there's 2 funeral homes here? Why do you need 2 funeral homes in a place this small? Do they compete? I don't get it. Let's get the heck out of here before we wind up in the funeral home and push a few buttons on our fancy machine and take ourselves to our next stop, La Coochie, Florida. Woo-wee! This sure is a necky place. Located right on the edge of a swamp in sorta central Florida, La Coochie is a place likely stock full of gators. We'll get to that in a minute, but the first telling signs that La Coochie is the worst place you can live in Florida are the $53,000 home prices and the 12% unemployment rate. That means of the 1,759 people who live here, 211 of them are out of work. The average person here makes $67.50 a year, and more than half the population lives in poverty. Ouch. Looks like for fun, you're limited to church mostly, Lacoochee churches. This swampy wonderland has several churches, including the Lacoochee Cowboy Ministries, which is apparently a place where you can listen to a sermon on the back of a horse. Talk about going back in time. And of course, there's the gators. You live on the edge of a swamp in Florida, so you probably see them all the time.
Did you know only 24 people have died from an alligator attack in Florida since 1950?
I did not know that, Mappy. You'd think that number would be a lot higher, since we all know how dumb Florida people are. Hey, Mappy, what do you call an alligator in a vest? An investigator. What do you call an alligator with GPS? A navigator. Okay, well, Mappy doesn't think those jokes are funny. He must have something on his mind. So we're just going to check under the time machine before we get in it. That's something people in Florida do before they leave so they don't get an alligator bite. As we take off and land in our next worst small town in America, Altamont, Tennessee. It's pretty much a funeral home, a jail, a Dollar General, and a place to get hammers and nails. For a night out, you'd have about a half-hour drive to either Fat Chunks, Tess's, or Pearl's Fine Dining, where apparently there's a waiting list. Let's call Pearl and see how long the wait is.
Pearl, this is Shannon.
Hi, is this Pearl?
It is.
Hey, Pearl, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. My name is Nick, and I'm doing a YouTube video, and I saw that you are tucked down there in Altamont, Tennessee. Is it usually pretty packed there in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I mean, it's decent, yes.
Okay. What do people do there for fun?
Well, they usually have, like, live concerts, or they do festival type of deals. They throw, like, block parties, things like that. They do music festivals.
All right, so a lot of music listening. Well, it is Tennessee. I can imagine why. I mean, you know. What's the favorite thing that people order there? Like, what's your signature dish?
Probably our filet.
Is it a catfish fillet?
No, it's a filet mignon.
Oh, a filet mignon. I'm going to have to come down there and try that. Last time I was in Tennessee, I ordered a catfish fillet, and it still had a hook in it. I'm sure Pearl can fry up some mean taters and all, but eventually you'll want more in life, and you'd have to drive another 45 minutes past there to get it. It's located in the mountains, and the first picture you see is of a waterfall, so that's cool. Of course, it's poor, but it's also 31% more safe than the average American town, too. I bet they don't F around here in Grundy County. We talked about how a few of these places might actually be desirable for some Americans who want low crime, no traffic, and no drama to move to. I'm sure many of us would love to move to a place without those things. Well, this is it, folks, especially if you like a slower pace. Altamont, Tennessee. Man, I'm gonna miss this small mountain town, but it's time to go back in time once again. Let's shut our fancy, expensive time machine doors. There we go. As we blast off and up and away and warp our way all the way to Walhalla, North Dakota. A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. No one to tell us no, or where to go, or to even talk to at all. Hello? Hello? Talk about isolation. There's Canada. Other than that, it's pretty much Leroy, Baku, Svold, and Olga, which probably look very similar to, if not exactly the same as, Walhalla. Let's zoom in here and see what there is to do. Okay, nothing yet. Nothing yet. Nothing. Oh, Connie's. Okay, I guess that's it. Connie's. What, they don't even have a thrift drug here?
When you look in your best, all the world is a fun place. How to keep a look in your best, find what you need all in one place.
So what's it like in a teeny town in the middle of BFE, North Dakota? Boring. There actually is a little bit more to do here. There's a bar and a supper club where you can eat whatever it is that North Dakota people eat. Likely buffalo and rhubarb pie and taco in a bag. What the hell is that? Anyways, here's another view of what it looks like in Walhalla, North Dakota. It's a simple life they live out here in these parts. It's the second oldest city in North Dakota, after all, where people likely still eat TV dinners and watch black and white TV. It's not the poorest place we've talked about, and I bet everybody knows your name out here, especially at Connie's. Who's that outside of Connie's? Is that Mrs. Mappy? Let's zoom in.
Oh, hi, Nick. How did you find me all the way out here?
The time machine? What are you doing here?
Learning how to make taco in a bag?
What is taco in a bag, Mrs. Mappy?
Taco stuff in a bag all mixed up?
Oh, okay. Are you trying to get a job here? There? Who was that you were talking to? Okay, she just took off. So odd. Of all the places in the country, and we bump into somebody we know. Huh. So that ends our first half look at the worst towns in America you would never want to live in, or maybe you would. We're going to pick up the second half in a video coming up next. So stay tuned for that. There are some really backwards places coming up in the next video, coming out in a couple days. Hey, so we talked badly about a few communities, but we also want to do positive things. If you or anyone you know has thought about adoption, maybe it's time you finally made that call. One place to start is Adopt US Kids. Maybe you can help a kid in need. Hey guys, if you learned something new or you just like this video, make sure to like it. And if you really like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get all of our videos about what it's like to live in different places in America. Peace.